I know you sang Queen Bitch, I'm Waiting for the Man, Dirty Boulevard, and
Yeah.
White Light, White Heat.
Yeah.
Tell me about those songs. Why those songs?
I think, well, firstly, Waiting for the Man, I think, is probably the most important of the four, in a way. A then manager brought back an album. It was just a plastic demo album of the Velvet's very first album in 1965-ish, something like that. And he was particularly pleased because Warhol had signed the sticker on the middle. I still have it, by the way. I still have that album. And he said, well, I don't know why he's doing music. This music's as bad as his painting. I thought, I'm going to like this. So I'd never heard anything quite like it. It was a revelation to me.
And then, so it influenced your own writing and music in some way?
I think, yes, tentatively, it influenced what I was to do for the next few years. I don't think it outrightly, I don't think I ever felt that I was in a position to become a Velvet's clone. But there were elements of what Lou was doing that I thought were just unavoidably right for both the times and for where music was going. One of it was the use of cacophony as background noise, and to create a kind of an ambience that had been hitherto unknown in rock, I think.
Absolutely.
And the other thing was the nature of his lyric writing, which, for me, it smacked of things like Hubert Selby Jr., that had recently been the last exit from Brooklyn, which, and also John Wretch's book, Cities of the Night, both books of which made a huge impact on me. And Lou's writing was right in that ballpark. It was, Dylan had certainly brought a new kind of intelligence to pop songwriting, but then Lou had taken it even further into the avant-garde and had its roots in Baudelaire and Rimbaud, and that side, that other thread of history, which isn't talked about very much, which it is now, of course. Now it is history, but at that time it was merely a thread. It wasn't considered important, in fact.
I couldn't have asked for anything better than what you just said. It was wonderful. You introduced Lou that night as the King of New York, and I think...
and Chris Walken was in the audience, and I felt awful afterwards. He said, hey, I'm the King of New York. I said, of course you are, well, this makes you... I have all the royalty here, I said.
Can you tell me how Lou is the King of New York to you?
Well, it's the New York that I want to know about. I think there are probably, everybody has their own New York, but for me, New York was always James Dean walking up the middle of the road. And it was always the thugs, the village thugs, and it was the Beats, and it was Soho, and it was that kind of the bohemian intellectual extravagance that made it so vibrant for someone like me, growing up in quite a grey, suburban, tenement-filled South London environment. That seemed to be the heart, the network of life, you know, and it's where we all wanted to escape to. If people were like me, we wanted out and we wanted in to places like New York, far more so than the West Coast.
Right. I noticed that night when the two of you were playing, there was so much sort of fun on stage, and so Lou, I could see Lou's face was just so happy. And just talk a little bit of what it's like to play those songs with Lou.
It's strange working with Lou. That's the first time we've actually worked like that together since the time that we made Transformer album. And all I could see was luggage. But the interesting thing was, because we'd sort of, at one period, not seen much of each other, is that these were suitcases I didn't know about. I wanted to see what was in them. Over the last year or two, we've reacquainted with each other, and it's so nice at this time in our lives, I think, to kind of look back and see that we've both had considerable artistic successes since we both began. And it's nice to feel that you've contributed in a fairly major way to how music how your chosen art has progressed, because it's the way that one wanted it to do when you started off. You think, I know what I want it to do, you know. And I think both of us feel that we did what we set out to do, which was change the course of the river a bit.
You know, there's sort of this relationship between the two of you that's a very rare sort of transatlantic connection that is unusual in music, I think, and that's what's extraordinary to me.
Yes, I think
the influences back and forth between.
I think there's a mutual regard for the differences between ourselves. We both, as you obviously know, that we have very different backgrounds. Also, I think that we probably have different interests in life, but there are certain areas where we definitely meet. I think in visual terms and also in literature, I think we both have very similar likes. Both Burroughs nuts, and he was taught by Schwartz, wasn't he?
Delmar Schwartz.
Yeah. That's right.
Teacher who.
That's right.
Are you familiar with Schwartz?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Lou talks about that as being. He sees the great short stories of Schwartz's as sort of a way that inspired him to write his own songs into very condensed material. And I know you've sort of quoted once John Lennon about how he said, I can find my quote here,
Say what you mean.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lennon, I think, Lou did grasp that very quickly. Say what you mean, rhyme, make it rhyme, and put it to a backbeat. And Lou was always very concise like that.
And that's sort of
he never wasted words.
And that's maybe a secret to your own writing, too, I think.
I don't know. I think I get a lot more elaborate. I mean, I tend to be far more Baroque than Lou, but that's the British in me.
And Transformer, if you could just...
I say what I mean, eventually. I tend to go the long way round, though.
I appreciate it. Transformer, of course, was a tremendously important transitional record for Lou, and can you talk a little bit about that album? I mean, Walk on the Wild Side, the first time you heard it, how did it change from that moment?
The thing is, with Lou, he was so generous to work with. I mean, I was petrified that he said yes, he would like to sort of work with me in the producer capacity, because I had so many ideas and I felt so intimidated by my knowledge of the work that he'd already done. I mean, even though there was sort of only that much time between us, it seemed like Lou had this great legacy of work, which indeed he did have. And that it felt impertinent of me to kind of recommend that we do things in certain styles and certain ways, but he just gave the whole project over to me. And I really hoped that I wouldn't let him down. You know, I really wanted it to work for him and be a memorable album that people wouldn't forget.
And like Herbie Flowers, the bass slide.
Yes, he let me choose an awful lot, well, all the musicians for it, and of course Ronson was a major part of it all.
And the sax was your teacher?
yeah, baritone sax player. At one time was in the top 3 in the world with Jerry Mulligan. His name's Ronnie Ross, sadly not with us anymore.
What year is Transformers?
Oh, I don't know things like that. It must have been maybe 73. I don't know.
72, I think.
You was it 2? 72 indeed. There you are.
Other songs in there, we'll go very quickly. Vicious, Andy's
Well,
Jazz,
Vicious. I mean,
Vicious.
I love the fact that the record company at the time, I think was RCA, did agree that Walk on the Wild Side was a classic, a wonderful song, absolutely brilliant. But I really wanted them to bring out Vicious, thank you. Bring out Vicious as a second single. I'm not sure that they ever did, but I felt that would have been a great single. I think, looking back on them, of course, they're all such memorable, well-crafted and well-written pieces of work. It's almost like, there we are. I mean, there are so many songs on here that should and could have been, and probably will be one day, singles by other bands.
Any of the favorites on there?
Sure, let's see. Let's give Satellite of Love to Blur, and we'll give Perfect Day to Suede. Vicious to Placebo. You see, I mean, there's so many songs here that could definitely make up to RuPaul, I suppose. Probably do.
And New York Telephone Conversation.
I did.
Great one.
I'll take that one.